Hi, everybody, and welcome to this kind of special video. I am Micah Hoffman from the OSINT Curious Project, and I'm here with a very, very special person. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, it's Ritu Gill, and you can find me on Twitter at OSINT Techniques.
Ritu and I have been working together for the past couple months here to assemble a quick video for you all that are just getting started out in the open source intelligence world. And specifically, the driver for this was Ritu and I happened to be at an OSINT Capture the Flag that was sponsored by Trace Labs and SANS Institute. And during this event, we noticed that there were some people that were having problems getting started out with their investigations. They knew how to do some things, but they weren't really sure where to go from there. What this video is about helping you understand all the different pieces of OSINT, how they fit together, and some great tools that are going to amplify what you can do with OSINT. To get us started, Ritu, why don't you take it away?
Excellent. So I want to start with starting your research. We're going to start with what would you do first, right? So you first want to be able to identify what the data you have that you're working with. Do you have a person's name? You might have a phone number or an email address, perhaps a username. What I like to call these are pivot points, meaning that they can lead you somewhere else, like identifying online profiles. So that could be quite helpful for open source research. A few questions you want to ask yourself before you start your research is you want to identify all your searchable data. So, if you have an email address of redbeard@gmail.com, Redbeard might be a username that a person uses across various platforms. Does your target have any nicknames? You might want to consider that. Who are the people closest to your target? Think of family, spouses, children, siblings. It could be parents. Of course, it could be friends and classmates or coworkers. And then you, of course, want to think and you want to look at places like Facebook, so social media platforms, some of the most common ones, right? Like Instagram, you got Twitter, and there's LinkedIn. These you want to definitely search and you want to see if you get any results here. Now going into search engines, one of the key things I like to remind people is you always want to search a few different search engines like Google and Bing. And you might wonder why we have to do that. It's because we know that search engines index different parts of the web. One other key you want to remember is you always want to look at more than just the first page of a web search, right? When it comes to search engines, there's a few different ways you can look at it. There's search engines for people, specifically for people. And I want to show you some of those where you'll be able to search someone's name in a website. Here, I'll bring one up called familytreenow.com. So just plug it in here, familytreenow.com. So what it allows you to do is enter the name. So if we have John, and we'll just do Smith, and then say you have a location, and then you click search records. Here, it's going to pull out information, possibly identifying the person you're looking for. So this could be quite helpful. And I've used this website before where I've found positive results. You also have people search engines like That's Them. Find people for free. And you have a few options here as well. So you can enter a name, a phone number, an address, or email address. So again, this is another source that you could use when you're looking at people searches. These will definitely give you some leads of where else you can go, depending on what results you get. When it comes to search engines, there's also username search engines. So one popular one that comes to mind is noam.com. So when I go to noam.com, if I'm looking at Redbeard and that is the username I'm looking into, I'm going to enter and click check it. And when you scroll down here, you're going to see it's giving you a quick preview But you'll see it tells you available or not available. So if it's not available, that means I want to look to see if Redbeard is on Etsy or, hey, on Facebook. I might go facebook.com Redbeard and see, can I find that individual, of course, being logged in. So that's a quite helpful one when it comes to username search engines. There's also usersearch.org. So you have many options. It's not only just one option you have. And you'll be able to enter a username here. And we do not want to join the newsletter, but it will tell you where that username may be identified. And then you would go there and carry on your search. And also when it comes to search engines, you also have options when it comes to phone numbers. So let's go to, say, Infobell. So here, Infobell is where you can search phone numbers. You can also add a name and a location to narrow down your search. So you have a few options. And then when it comes to search engines, if you have an email address, that's really helpful because you might want to go somewhere like, have I been pwned? To see what social profiles may have been identified in a data breach. And why is this useful? If for example, MySpace is listed as a breached account under the email address I look up, then I would go to that platform searching for that person to see if I can find any historical photos, any other connections that might be identified, and more. So that covers some search engines that would be helpful to start out your research.
Wait a second, Ritu. You just did a whole bunch of different things. How did you even know about That's Them? How did you know about FamilyTreeNow.com? Where did you get that stuff? And the answer is, it's not magic. There's a bunch of websites out there that have links to other websites, and they're categorized in certain fashion. Here's a good one on the screen right now. It's OSINTframework.com. Let's say that we had a username like Redbeard. If we have a username, we can go to the very first object, click on it, and do a username search engine. Now, this username search engines, these just take you to websites similar to what Ritu was just showing you. In fact, you see Noam in there and usersearch.org. These are just links to websites. They are not an actual search tool in OSINTframework.com. But there's other ones out there. And you can see that there's a whole bunch of different different categories within OSINTframework.com. But here's an interesting thing. If we just remove the com and we replace .com with DE for Germany, it gets redirected over here to Bruno Mortier's site. Now, this is a different way of looking at bookmarks. This is a Start Me page, and you can see there's a bunch of different sections that he has, whether it's personal infrastructure, image intelligence, OSINT toolkits, or geo intelligence. Each one has links to other sites. For instance, if you wanted to know where the telephone directory is for a certain place, here we have a number of them. And they're not just in the United States, they're all over the world. Of course, there are similar resources to what Ritu just showed you, like Noam and username search, but there's a whole bunch of them here. The last resource I want to show you is TecnaSet.com. TecnaSet.com is another Start Me page that will redirect you to TecnaSet's list of bookmarks. Here we have some general things, and across the top we have different categories. Let's go to search engines. Here in search engines, you can see that you have online marketplaces, social media content, and much, much more. With these three sites, OSINTframework.com, OSINTframework.de, and TecnaSet.com, you should be able to be successful in many, many different types of searches. But one of the questions that people have a lot of times is, well, I know all the bookmarks, but how do I put things together? How do I go from a username to, as Ritu said, a something else, like a first name or something else? For that, we have a tool called Yoga. Let's take a look at Yoga. The site, yoga.osint.ninja. This is a website that I put together a while ago. And the idea is that I'm going to just zoom in here using my mouse wheel, or you can hit the plus key over here. The idea with this site is that I have some type of information like an IP address. And when I click once on IP address, it gives me an example, but it also shows me connections. Like with an IP address, like 192.168.1.2, I could go and look up its geolocation information, or who owns the IP address block, or do a DNS search. We give you examples of where to go from there, but this really helps you with, I have one type of information, what else can I do with it? Like here I have a URL. Well, resolve it to an IP address. Look at the domain name. Examine for services. This is a free site that you can use just to find out what that next step is. But there's other ways to find out next steps, including a resource that Ritu is going to show you now from Michael Bazell.
All right, so now we're going to go into OSINT flowcharts by Michael Bazell. So these flowcharts, I will show you the link. So you can simply bring them up by entering Intel Techniques and flowcharts, and you should be able to get the link. And it's the second one here. What you get here is his flowcharts that Michael's uploaded to his site. They will help you leverage and pivot to your next step or your next move. So if I have an email address, I might not know where to start. Often one of the questions I get often is, hey, where do I start my research? Of course, we've already covered the search engines, but where else can I go? So these flowcharts I find are very helpful because they kind of give you the pointers of, hey, okay, well, you can verify the address here in hunter.io, but you can go into search engines. So there's a few listed here that points me in one direction, but it kind of tells you, okay, what the next step possibly could be. It goes on. You can actually go into other ones, including, for example, you have a real name. So where do we want to go there? Okay, you can even start wherever you're comfortable. Like you got people search engines, some of them we covered. You got your regular search engines like Google, Bing, Yandex, but then you have your social profiles where you might want to run someone's name, like Twitter. And so these are those points, and the flowcharts are quite helpful. And just remember, when you click through, there's a flowchart for emails, websites, names, phone numbers, a location, and usernames. So try those out. They're quite helpful.
So now that we know what to do, what information we can gather, and what websites that we can go to do that, one of the next things that people ask is usually, well, what about using like search engines? I mean, Google knows everything there is to know about the internet, right? That's not entirely the case, and I love Ritu's idea of using multiple websites and search engines for work, because Google knows about some things that Yandex doesn't know, that Bing doesn't know. So each one has their own specialty. But let me just show you within Google how to do some advanced queries and some of the different techniques that we use, and that you can also apply that to the other websites as well. Let's just use me, for example. If I search for Micah Hoffman, I get a huge number of results coming back. Now, I'm actually probably a bad person to search for here, but what we're looking for is any place in the web page where the words Micah and the word Hoffman are located. They do not have to be next to each other. While this gives us 5.7 million results, let's see what happens if I put some quotation marks around it. Now, the quotation marks tell Google, only show me the results where Micah space Hoffman is found in the page. See if that reduces, whoa, that reduces it a lot to 12,000. Now, we can also include other words involved here, in here, like Micah Hoffman and OSINT. Now we're down to 3,000. And you can continue to do other refinements as well, narrowing down the information that you're looking for. Now let's add a different thing. Instead of narrowing this down and using positive results, let's remove certain filters or certain words from our queries. For instance, if you're looking for, quote, Micah Hoffman, quote, OSINT, but not from SANS, not with the word SANS in it, we can use a dash SANS. Now you can see we're down to 818 results from that first 5.7 million. You can negate with a dash any word or other string that you want to remove. What we can do also is specify other types of searches, like in the URL something needs to be there, or site. So if I want to say I only want Micah Hoffman on sans.org domain, then it's only going to give me results that have sans.org, 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 cyber defense sans.org. You get that. We can also conversely add a minus sign here to negate that as well. There are other search search directives that you can use, and I could go into a whole bunch of other specific ones, but let me show you a neat technique for finding them all. In Google, type advanced Google search, and you get this page right here, this google.com/advanced_search, and then you see all of these different fields. This is really, really easy for people that are just starting out to start to customize things. Remember that site.com, site colon directive I sent, site:/sans.org? Well, you put sans.org in this here, and it will go ahead and limit the results. Or you can limit by file type, like PDFs or XLS, certain regions, languages, or more. Okay? So that also can be done on a bunch of other different sites. In fact, there's a really good website out there that has some great examples for doing this, and it's at ahrefs.com. Ahref is a HTML tag, and this one here for the Google search operator lists not only what to type, but why and some other reasons for using it. So here we have examples for a whole bunch of different things.
When you're searching online, you might come across social platforms with photos. And we're going to get into reverse image search here, so that's quite relevant. And I'll give you an example of that. So what reverse image search is, it allows you to find where else a photo may exist online. And how you use reverse image search, we'll try with Google first, just to show you how it works. So Google Images, you can go to Google Images, click on that. So what I would do here if I wanted to reverse image, if I wanted to Google image search a photo, I would upload using this button here. I would search the image, and it would run it through its database and tell me if it exists, say, where else on the internet. An example of that would be if I was looking at John Smith, as I'm using here, and say I click on this profile here, and there's a profile photo. Well, in Google Chrome, in the browser I'm using right now, it gives you this option where you can right-click. Let's just click on this right now. I don't think there's a photo, but if this photo was here, you have two options. You can save it to your desktop, and then you can go into Google Images, you can upload it and do a reverse image search. The second option is right from the browser. You can right-click on it and say, search Google for image, and that will try to identify where else that photo may be used. So I've found this quite helpful and successful for LinkedIn users. So if you come across whoever you're looking for and they have, say, whatever social media platform, try the reverse image search and see like that photo could be used across multiple platforms. Some other options for reverse image search include Yandex Images, which is, I believe, quite reliable for facial recognition and quite useful. So you can also do the same thing with Yandex Images. And then you also have another one I want to bring up here, which is called TinEye, which has its own database. But again, they talk about reverse image search and how you can conduct that search. One other thing I want to mention when it comes to images is if you find photos posted outside of some of the popular social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, But if it's, say, on a personal blog page, it might be worth checking for EXIF data. That stands for Exchangeable Image File Format. And this can give you metadata that could point to, say, a date or a time a photo was taken, perhaps GPS coordinates, maybe even the type of device that the photo was taken with. One tool I want to point out for EXIF data is, it's actually Jeffrey's EXIF Viewer. So I'll just show you how that works. The reason why I say if you find photos outside of major platforms is because Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they actually wipe that information. So when you post a photo to Facebook, they wipe the EXIF data. So here, if I had the image, I would, choose File, upload it, and here it would give me the results if there was any EXIF in that photo. So it's quite easy, quite user-friendly, and it's worth trying again. So going into saving your results. So this is a really important step. It's important to save the results that you have. You have many options when it comes to saving your research. And the reason we suggest you save your information is because online it can disappear quite quickly. Someone might, post something and remove it. It can be taken down by a social media platform. The website, the internet is ever evolving. So it's one of those things that when you see something, we want you to learn and have some of the tools in order to capture information. And some of those tools, so if you're like a Windows user, you might have the snipping tool, which is built into your machine. But if you're a Mac user, you can screenshot by using Shift-Command-4, right? And that will allow you to screen capture whatever you see on the screen here. You have other options if you're trying to save, say, a video. There might be a video on Facebook or Instagram, YouTube. There's something called Download Helper. Sorry, Download Helper. And I'm just going to go take you to that website. And what this is there's several add-ons or extensions, as we call them. You can look into that and see if it would work for you, or if it supports the website, you can install the add-on. So you can even go into your Google add-on or extensions and add this information. So you would go here, go to extensions, and then you could go to the web store and let's just plug in, for example, Download Helper, see what comes up. We have this one here. Use that. You would add to Chrome, and it would allow you to capture a video from certain websites. You also have other options. So still into the extensions, you might do something like Lightshot, which is a screen capture tool. Again, super user-friendly. You would add this to your browser. It would show up at the top. It's usually a purple feather like this, and you're able to capture whatever you're looking at on the screen there. There's also things like Nimbus, which is very similar, but again, it's a screenshot and screen video recorder, so that's another option. One I recently found quite helpful on Instagram was sometimes you come across multiple, posts on Instagram or, whatever social media platform. For Instagram in particular, this one was quite helpful. It's called Downloader for Instagram. So let's go to Downloader for Instagram. Oh, I guess didn't spell it out there. It's the first one. You would add that to Chrome. And this was really user-friendly. And it will dump all the photos and the videos into a zip file. And it took only a few minutes, so if you have 100 posts, again, this is something you could use. You can add to your browser and continue your search from there. Alternatively, like I know there's software like Hunchly, and if you have access to something like that, it's great software for capturing online investigations or online screen captures. So that, again, is another tool in your OSINT toolbox. So those are some of our tips for doing some open source research and some starting points. Hope you learned a few things. that you can carry on and try some of the tools we shared today. And we hope you enjoyed this webcast.
Yeah, we're hoping that these tips make you very successful in whatever CTF or OSINT work that you're doing. And I think Ritu and I both want you to stay OSINT curious. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.